What's happening? This is Ryan Dawkins, and you're tuning in to The Loft.
Has brought out the best of me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Loft. If you guys are new here, please like, comment, subscribe. And if you're not new, welcome back. Today I have a very, very special guest. He is the candidate for the PA State Senate this upcoming November. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Picozzi. What's up, brother? How are you?
Thank you for having me on.
Of course. I heard this is your first real podcast, you said? Your first studio podcast?
First real podcast, yeah.
Shout out to your boy as well, who's probably, you went on his a while ago. But nah, dude, I'm happy you're here. You know, Carrie spoke very highly of you, Carrie Dunphy. So shout out to Carrie Dunphy. She reached out to me and made me aware of yourself and like the hustle and grind you've been, you know, doing, and going door to door, doing your speeches and stuff. Because you really care about, for people who don't know, I guess you can give yourself a brief introduction. Go ahead, brother.
No, my name is Joe. Born and raised in Northeast Philadelphia. My family's been here for over 50 years.
Yeah.
My pop was a firefighter for 40 years in the city. Worked all throughout the city. My mom worked at Hammond Hospital. She was a special educator after that, but she was an occupational therapist at Hammond. And growing up in Northeast Philly, I mean, it was just an amazing place to be.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that. You grew up in Mayfair.
Yeah.
Like, it was an awesome place to grow up. It was beautiful. I used to ride my bike around.
Yeah.
I never felt unsafe ever.
Yeah.
Frankly, my whole child, it's never something I thought about.
Yeah.
And now, I'm 29,
right,
and I've lived to see my home honestly drastically change.
Yeah.
In some places.
Yeah.
And that's just so jarring to me.
Yeah.
And you're saying just before we got started how you're starting to get really engaged in politics. I think a lot of young people in Philadelphia are feeling the same way because nobody's coming to save us.
Right. Yeah. You kind of the whole Trump and Biden situation, that the election coming up for the presidential election, in the past 4 years, everyone's kind of seeing quality of life change. Like, I know myself, like I'll go on Twitter or X or even go watch the news, and it's always this negative shit, and it's always a crooked shit, and it's just on both sides. No, like, these politicians, they're all crooked in some degree, but it's tough because I don't really talk politics, but I just know that my quality of life the past 4 years has drastically changed, and it's tough because when you feel like you're lied to, taken advantage of, your time, effort, money is going to somewhere that isn't our own country. And me being in Kensington and with the Grace Project and volunteering out there, and seeing the quality of life in Kensington, and then we're sending money overseas. The quality of life needs to change here, and that's another reason why I wanted to have you on this podcast, because I care about the community as well. And to have someone who's dedicating their life to it and has an actual voice in terms of, like, you're speaking, you're speaking at schools, you're speaking to the community, and you're answering questions. You're preaching why people should vote for you, and you're 29, right? So
yeah, I just turned 29 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, well, happy birthday, brother. So it's
Thank you.
To see someone like your age who is putting their all into it, it's something that I really respect, because, like I said, all I know is that quality of life for me hasn't been great since this past 4 years. I know that I want change, and I think the country's starting to want change, and it starts with your community, and it starts with your home, and you growing up in Philadelphia, and you even mentioning how where you grew up isn't the same, and it's like, how can you get it back to the way it was? How can you get everyone on board, and how can you get people to give a shit is the most important thing. A lot of people just don't care. They don't want to work.
They gave up.
They gave up. Yeah, because and like I said, everyone has their reasons of why they gave up and why they think they should give up. But having someone like you, Joe, and being out there in the community and spreading there is hope there. There's a bit of hope to have, and it can change. So like I said, I really respect that about you. First and foremost, get that off the bat. I really respect you for that. And yeah, I want to get into, like, also, like I said, like, growing up here with your family, living in Philadelphia, Northeast Philadelphia specifically. It's where I grew up as well. I went to Calvary, went to Ryan, the whole thing. We talked about it. And I kind of just want to know why. Like, so where did you go to? Did you go to college for this? Like, to study politics?
I did, yeah. I studied government at Georgetown.
Oh, fuck. Oh, Georgetown? Shit. Nice. Good for you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, you got my vote. No, but that's awesome. And so what was your experience like there studying that?
Well, I mean, I learned a lot. I had
Right.
great professors. I studied political theory and policy, but DC is not the real world. It's just
Right.
not. Those people live in a total bubble. It's all self-referential, I think, in DC. Like, they only read political news and they only really care about DC, and they all think they're the center of the world. And that's just not what it is. Like, they're totally out of touch with a place like Northeast Philly, because it's not necessarily that they're bad people.
Or even Philadelphia in general.
Yeah.
The whole city, yeah.
For sure. I mean, basically anywhere outside the Beltway. It's not like they're bad people or that they don't care about the country. It's that they just don't know the country.
Yeah, right. Because they don't have to.
Right.
They don't have to. It's like It's like someone who lives in, you live in paradise. Why do you got to give a shit about everyone else? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
And the people who do live in this situation, and they're the ones who have to care for it because they're the ones in it and they're fighting for their lives. And so you went to Georgetown.
Yep.
And was it always your plan to come back home?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, talk to anybody who's known me. Pretty much, you can't get me to stop talking about Philly. You're like anyone who's known me my whole life. It's just Philly, Philly, Philly. It's my home. It's really all I think about, all I talk about. Even when I was living there, I was back here at least a couple times a month, visiting family, doing things, staying tight with my buddies.
Yeah.
I was never really far from home. But I look at that time in my life as sort of preparation. Like, you almost like know the hero's journey, right? Where it's like you have to kind of leave, you have to learn these things. And I learned a lot. I also saw through a lot of kind of the trickery, the fakery of the system. And now I can go into this where I'm not naive, right? Where I'm well prepared. I worked on Capitol Hill. I worked in like the big white marble building. That was my first job out of school.
That's sick.
I was just a nobody, making coffee for people. I wasn't like
Yeah, so was it an internship?
Staff assistant. So it's like the most junior staffer person.
You got your foot in the door though. And
I saw a lot. I got it out of there pretty quick though.
Yeah. So you saw a lot, and you didn't have a desire to stay in there. No.
No, I mean, when I got there, I thought I'd want to, but once I kind of saw what was up, I mean, I just didn't think that was a place where problems were actually really getting solved and that people were serious about doing it. It's part of the reason I really believe in local government, because local government, and I worked in local government in high school. I interned for Frank Farry. I did some work for Brian O'Neill. When the work you do at the local level, you can actually see the results. Like, you get funding for a park, you can go to the park. I think that the federal stuff, it's just too far. It's just a lot of fakery. But local government, you can actually really make a real difference, a significant difference.
So what do you think right now in Philadelphia is, obviously you have the crime, but what do you think are realistic results, or what are things that you're really pushing for your campaign?
So more funding for the police. It's probably the biggest thing. That's hiring more officers. That's paying them better, right? That's a huge part of recruiting police officers, is raising the wages.
Right.
And that's something I'm going to be a champion for. If I get in there, I plan to just have a weekly call with the FOP. If they're willing to do it, they haven't said they would.
Right.
But if they're willing to do it, I would have a standing meeting with them. What do you need? What can I do? Some of that the state government can do. Other things, it's going to have to be me essentially using the bully pulpit to stand up to City Hall, stand up to City Council and say, this is what they need. This is what we're going to do. So that's going to be a big piece of it. It's also investing in training, equipment for the officers. They say we're short about 800 officers, and that disproportionately affects Northeast Philadelphia. Right. Our response times are some of the lowest in the city.
Well, that's what you were saying earlier. The response times are extremely high. It takes a long time, and so for when it comes to the community, how do you what's your goal for the community? Because obviously morale is everything. Yeah. And so what are you attacking, and in terms of like communities, like how do you want to build that back up again?
Well, building's the right word. Northeast Philly was always known for this really robust sense of community, right? We had Memorial Day parades down Torresdale Avenue. We had all these civic institutions.
I remember, so I don't want to cut you off, but I remember in Mayfair, like during Christmas, they had like parades, and Santa would be on his thing coming down, and we would write letters to Santa, and we put it in there, and they'd have like the little like people walking around with shopping carts, but like. It's so crazy. I'm getting like this nostalgia hit, and they have like all these like little toys on there. But I just remember the community coming together, and what's it called? Is that Frankfurt Avenue? Where with the Cottman Avenue. So Cottman. It'd be on Cottman, and I remember doing that when I was a kid. And you get like, I feel like you get like little bits of it. When the Phillies are in the World Series and Eagles win the Super Bowl, everyone goes to Cottman and celebrates. Obviously, they're getting drunk and doing a bunch of crazy shit, but it's there. It just has to be. push.
You need the spark. You need the spark.
Right.
And you need somebody who's young, who's dynamic, who's energetic, who can be a cheerleader for Northeast Philly.
Right.
And who can show people that things can get better.
Yeah.
Because so much of it, it's this self-fulfilling prophecy. When everybody gives up, then it just starts to sort of reinforce itself. When everybody's scared to go out, it starts to reinforce itself. People being inside actually makes the neighborhood less safe. Right. When people are outside, they're walking around, there's more eyes on the ground.
Yeah, strength of numbers, yeah.
Right. Same thing with public transit. You know, when there's less riders, crime goes up. But it's restoring the sense of hope. It's investing in these civic institutions that are like bedrock of Northeast Philly, bringing back the parades, bringing back the block parties.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that used to be a big part of Mayfair.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah. Shellmeyer Avenue and Mayfair, we had block parties every single summer. The coolest things ever, man. Yeah. It's disheartening, and honestly, I think it trickles down from a lot of things. You think of like the social media, like people on like kids. You have iPad kids now. I used to go around, you know, Shellmeyer with water guns and shooting each other and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so let me ask you this: so what initially I know you want to spark the community, but what sparked you into this care for the community and making this your life path?
Well, it's my home. It's my home, and for me, just seeing how much things had changed from when I was in high school till now was just incredibly jarring for me. And as I've been doing this, I'm learning more and more. I'm meeting thousands of people, and I'm just hearing really serious, I mean, often heart-wrenching stories about what's going on in Northeast Philly. And I honestly never thought it would be like this. You know, I thought it would come home and be like, let me help continuing to crush it here, right? Because it was such a great place to be. And that's not the situation we're in. So as I meet more people too, you just get more motivated. You know, at first I think it was almost like, well, you know, if I was in there, I would try to do this or that. And it was all kind of theoretical. Then when you meet people and they start to believe in you and they start to feel this, like you talk about the sense of hope that you can do this, like you can do this. They were saying this before the podcast started. Winning the election is not going to be easy. I'm a huge underdog, but delivering results is the more challenging part. That's when the real fight begins after November. It's not now. There's so much work that needs to be done. And I think the way we do it, because it's not just one guy, right? You have to be somebody who can rally people, who can bring people together, who can reinvigorate neighborhoods and communities, who can get people out picking up trash, who can get people organizing community events, who can basically be somebody that pulls neighbors together and gives them a sense of hope, but also gives them the resources to do what they need to do to keep their community safe.
That's great. And I guess one of my questions is as well for you is, what do you believe are Joe Picozzi's strengths? What are your strengths that make you the ideal candidate?
Passionate. You know, I when I was a kid, I was an Eagle Scout, and became senior patrol leader of my troop. You're leading this kid.
Let's go. Let's go.
It's like you know, 40 kids, something like that, from ages 11 to 17. And I was all nervous about it. I was like, oh, man, like it's a big leadership role. Like, can I do it? And my scoutmaster said, leadership, the whole thing is you just have to care. And if you care and you work hard, you're going to be a good leader. And that's what I've seen in my life, is that if you're somebody who just really cares, who really listens to people, and you have energy and enthusiasm and dynamism, you can think outside the box. That's the recipe for good leadership. And we need that kind of dynamism, I think, in Northeast Philly. I think there's a lot of lethargy where it's just sort of, you know, kind of like you talked about, pushing problems over here or band-aids here. And a big problem we have too is the lack of accountability and a lack of transparency. There's all this, oh, that wasn't me, that's this department, or it's this thing or that thing. And then it's neighbors are getting bamboozled when they find out there's these development projects going on that have been in the works for half a decade, and they weren't informed about it. They weren't told, and now they're told, oh, this is shovel ready. You deal with it. We need transparency in government. Like, I give everybody my cell phone number at the doors. I'm just like, text me. Like, I want to hear from you. I get back to just about everyone. I try to reply to my comments, my DMs. Because that's the actual leadership we need. Right. Not this, oh, let me pass you to this person or that person.
Well, let me ask you this. What's some of the feedback you've gotten?
I mean, it's been overwhelmingly positive.
Good.
You know, people aren't used to having somebody show up at your doors. Somebody who's young, somebody who cares, somebody who listens. And people are just craving change. You mean just craving it in Northeast Philly. It's been, you know, Democrats, independents are like, this is the time for something different.
I think everyone's feeling that.
The
whole world,
it's across
the whole country's feeling that. And it's, you know what I think of it too is, like, everyone wants change, but they're like, they don't know how to start. Like, they don't know where to go. and having someone like you to be that person they can go to is huge.
Well, other people should run for office too. I mean, my hope is that if I do this, and especially if I'm successful, that I inspire other people to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. Don't get me wrong. It is hard, but you can do it. And anybody who listens to this, it's like, oh, maybe I want to run for something. Like, hit me up, talk to me. I will do everything I can to help you. Because we need especially more young people across the country to do it.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is getting you across the finish line. I think getting you, that's the most important thing, and getting you elected, and even if it's, what is it, every 4 years?
Every
4 years, right? Even if you may not get the results you want this year, it's all right, dude. Let's fucking push another 4 years. Like, let's go. Like, especially if we don't see change and things do get worse. It's like,
I don't think there's time to wait.
Yeah,
I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at how rapidly things are deteriorating in Northeast Philly.
No, yeah, I agree, 100%. I agree.
4 more years of more of the same. I don't want to be pessimistic, but you reach a point where it gets much, much, much harder to fix things.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not saying we're there, but what I am saying is that we have a really special opportunity for Philadelphia in 2026. So 2026, we're hosting the World Cup. I think 4 World Cup games. We've got the MLB All-Star Game, the Home Run Derby. I think it's the NCAA semifinals.
Tricentennial's coming up.
That's what I was going to say. The 250th anniversary of the founding. It's the semi-quincentennial. There's your SAT word. That's going to be putting all the eyes of the world on Philadelphia. There's going to be, they're estimating, at least 500,000 people visiting the city for the first time ever. And so if we can meet the moment, and there's going to be so much work to do to do it, but if we can meet the moment, we can draw insane amounts of investment into this city. We can completely change the vibes, right? Like you're talking about, like the vibes. Yeah. We can completely have a major vibe shift in this city. It could set us on a massive course for a bold new direction for Philly.
Yeah.
And if we miss it, then we've goofed in the eyes of the world.
Yeah.
So I don't want to call it a make or break moment, but I think there is a real sense of urgency to deliver, especially with 2026 in the not so distant future.
Right. Yeah. This is one of those moments. And like I said before, when I was, 23, I'm 27 now. When I was like growing up in my early 20s, I never watched the news. I never understood it. I never really understood where things were going, what pieces were being put in place. And, now safe to say the past 4 years, I've really, dove deep into it, and I care about it now. I really care about who is our president. I care about who is our state senators. I care about that stuff because, it really does affect you. And and honestly, dude, like I said, I never talk about politics ever, but like, I'll say this is for November is probably one of the most important times in our lifetimes. Like, because you see everything going on right now. It's just, this is a very, very important election year. And I'll say that, and I can't stress that enough. Like, I never voted, I never cared to vote, but this year I will be first in line to vote. Like, I will be,
amen to that.
I'm gonna vote for I'm gonna vote for you, and
thank you.
I believe in you and your energy, your positivity, your dedication to change. Someone else I really like is because of to me, and I'll ask you the same thing, because we'll get back into you, but in terms of the presidential, the federal, those kind of things. Someone I've been really watching and enjoying is Vivek Ramaswamy.
Oh yeah.
I just think he's the man. Because I love his passion, his energy, and the things that he talks about and some of his policies that he believes in. And doing things the right way. Now everyone's talking about the Constitution. Everyone's talking about the amendments to keep giving bringing democracy back and empowering the American people, which I love.
We talk about bringing democracy back. That's such an important thing to talk about and think about, because I think people have almost forgotten what the thing is. Like, democracy isn't something that just happens to you. It's something that you can just do. Mm-hmm. If not on your own, if you get 2-3 friends and you have an issue, a hyper local issue that you really care about, you can go make a big stink about it, and you can force all the local politicians to pay attention to you. And I'm already seeing this happen a lot in Northeast Philly, where there's different development projects, and you've got these kind of ragtag groups of people who are like, I don't want this. And they're standing up and they're actually making a difference.
Yeah.
And so democracy is an active process. And I think something that's really important to me, and if I get elected, I'll be a champion for this, is civic education. Philadelphia should be leading the country in civic education. We have unique assets that no other city has.
So for those listening, what is civic?
Yeah. So it's how you engage with the republic. right? It's how you as a citizen, like citizenship isn't just voting, right? It's something you actively do. Like voting's kind of like the baseline. And so I say like you should probably do like something a month, like just a thing, whether it's you come out and knock doors with me. You can go volunteer in a soup kitchen. You can go to a civic association meeting, right? Yeah. So when I think about civic education, essentially it's an invitation to be an active participant in the process. Right. Philly has these special resources. Like we've got Independence Hall, the Constitution Center, Valley Forge, Washington's Crossing. Those are the things that got me into this. Where for me as a kid going to these places, I felt like the American experiment wasn't this amazing thing that happened 250 years ago. It felt like I had an invitation to be part of it, to step into it, to participate in it. Yeah. And I was lucky that was my experience in Philadelphia. But I feel like a lot of kids, probably most kids, don't have that experience, and something I want to broaden.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, and that's cool. I love that. The history intrigues you, and it's just because like it's a part of our country, and I think we need to take that nationalism back, and I think we lost a lot of it. The lines kind of got blurred, and the democracy and the freedom to do things has been abused, in my opinion. That's right. I think you see a lot of these movements happening, and it's always great to have pride in something you believe in, but when you take advantage of it and you try to put someone else down, I think it makes things messy. And so when you are elected, what's your game plan? Like when you get past this hill, what's your game plan?
Well, I like to meet with Cheryl Parker as soon as possible if I win. I think if I were to be elected, I have to work very closely with her. Yeah. I view that as more of a constructive partnership, and I think the reason I'd be a special person and do it is, I'd be the highest ranking elected non-Democrat in the city. So I would be somebody that can kind of keep the mayor's office and keep city council accountable. And I think the mayor's heart's totally in the right place. Like I was at her inauguration. Like
nice.
I think she wants to do the right things.
Yeah.
But I think we need somebody in Northeast Philly that's championing our issues.
For sure.
And so I'd view it as almost like a partnership, and I'd have to really build and develop that working relationship, because that's going to be kind of make or break to achieving the goals I have for the city.
Right.
I'm already doing a lot of work right now to build relationships with senators, members of city council, kind of quietly on that front. But basically these people who I have to work with, because kind of what we talked about 2026 and the urgency here, I would love to be in a situation where I have a year to just learn the job. That's not my situation. I've got to get in and deliver basically immediately. So that kind of transition period, I don't want to be setting up those meetings, building relationships with senators, members of the House, basically kind of preparing legislation. Like what are the immediate things, working with local groups like the FOP, Lodge 5, working with the firefighters, Local 22, working with the unions, frankly. Kind of seeing, okay, what are their issues? How can we be helpful to the schools? And basically have a legislative agenda ready to go. I don't want to be some sort of backbencher who maybe votes okay. Like that's not sufficient. That's necessary, but not sufficient. I need to be somebody who's sort of a dynamo, both in the community on hyper-local issues and constituent services, which a lot of things are sort of falling by the wayside, but also in Harrisburg. That's actually banging the drum on what's going on in Philly, because I think we're getting overlooked at the state level too. Northeast Philly gets overlooked twice. Right. We get overlooked in City Hall, where we're drastically underrepresented. And we get overlooked in Harrisburg, where they can't distinguish Northeast Philadelphia from any other part of the city. They just think it's all Philly, and they don't understand the unique character of the Northeast. Yeah. So I need to be somebody that really champions Northeast Philadelphia, that makes sure there's nobody in power in this state. You can go a day without knowing what Northeast Philadelphia is.
You're gonna be that guy that's in their ear.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. And so, what's your family's support been like?
My dad was out knocking doors with me today.
Fuck yeah! What's your dad's name?
Joe Picozzi.
Joe? So you're JJ? J Jr.? J Jr.?
We got different middle names.
Okay. Yeah. Got it. So, Joe, shout out to you.
Shout outs, Dad.
That's pretty cool.
Thanks for all the help, Pop.
That's pretty cool. And yeah, it seems like you had a lot of people who support you and people who are active. And, I've seen some of your reels do really well. And some people who actually care. And you're lighting the match up. You're lighting the match. You're getting people excited and getting people interested in talking about it. Because I think a lot of times, people feel like they can talk about it, but none's ever going to be heard. I feel like a lot of times I feel like our communities don't feel they're heard. So it's why would I say anything at all? Are there any political leaders, past, present, current, that you look up to? You have anyone in your lifetime actually that you idolize and look up to that really helps mold who you are?
My lifetime is trickier. Because I talked about growing up and being inspired by the American system. But the challenge I think for people our age is that we've never really seen it work well. I mean, that's the reality of it. You look at this city, you look at your Larry Krasners, your Jim Kennys. These are not inspiring people. I mean, I'll never forget when Jim Kenny just said, I don't want to do this job anymore. You remember that?
That was, I don't think I've ever been so pissed off before.
Yeah.
Honestly, like.
And so, you know, here we haven't had much to admire. At the national level, yeah, I don't see people that I'm like, you know, maybe some are better than others, but when you look to history, there's tons. There's tons. And I study history. You know, Harry Truman said the only thing that's new in this world is the history you haven't learned yet. And that's something I want people to understand, because so many people our age gave up on the thing because they're like, this just clearly doesn't work. Because just because we haven't lived to see it work doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means they're not doing it right. And like, we've had so many unexpected negative events happen, you know, 9/11, the Great Recession, COVID. What people have to understand with history is that unexpected positive things happen too.
Right, yeah.
But to answer your question, guy I've always admired, John F. Kennedy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he had his rhetoric was beautiful. He had this sense of hope, optimism. His whole thing was we could do more, right? It was pushing beyond the boundaries. It was challenging the country to do more, right? It was calling on people to be better. You know, he said, pray not for easier lives, pray to be stronger men. And the way he presented himself, the way he conducted himself as a statesman, the way he was able to inspire the country. I mean, when he got elected, it was basically 50-50. When he got in there, he was 80% approval. Oh, nice. And so I've always admired him. Also, he's the first Catholic president. So that was a little bit of an Irish guy. Like,
yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it's sick, dude. And let me ask this. So, like, what's your if you're speaking to the community right now, like, what do you say to them, to those people, to get them motivated, to get them inspired? Like, what do you say to the community? Like, how do you get a community excited about they're making change again?
It's not easy. It's not easy. Part of it's being upbeat.
Yeah.
You know, talking about your ideas, talking about the future. You know, when I talk to young people, especially, what I say is like, look, I'm just real with them. Level them. Nobody's coming to save us. You know, if you care about your home, if you love Northeast Philly, if you love your neighborhood, if you love your block, we're going to have to do this ourselves. Like, the cavalry's not coming. If you want to invest in this place, you want to be here, you want to raise your kids here like I do, we're just going to have to stand up and do this. And people are in. That's the amazing thing, is like, I feel like I'm picking up new volunteers, several of them, maybe like half a dozen a week.
Oh, wow. And
that's crazy. I got people DMing me, you know, people who are like, just seeing me on Facebook. They're like, here's $25. What can I do? What can I do? Yeah. People requesting yard signs, like the dynamism and the energy. So I think a lot of it's the vibes. Yeah. Right. And I think some of it is you have to be this person that's sort of like, has a lot of abundant energy, but also this reckless belief that's like, no, it's not over. It's not over. We can fix this. It is doable. And it is so doable to turn things around in Northeast Philly. Like, we have so many great resources. It's a beautiful place. Yeah. I mean, just look around, like, drive around, look at the houses. It's beautiful. Yeah. If your place is ugly, you can't fix that. You know, you can't fix that. Yeah. We've got everything we need.
The infrastructure's there. Yeah. It's about the people. And, And so, how can people help you? How can they contribute to you in helping you?
Well, there's so much you can do. Yeah. First, if you can volunteer, you know, hit me up, DM me, sign up on my website. We're going to be doing a lot of events. We're doing trash cleanup this weekend, so you can come to that. It's going to sort of double as a meet and greet.
That's sick.
You come knock doors with me, which is a really cool experience. I want to pitch knocking doors to people who've never done it, because you meet people like in their home and you hear from them. What I say is, you know, I'm Joe. I'm running for the state senate. I'm going around knocking doors, introducing myself to people, asking, what do you want to see change? What do you think can be improved? And I just sort of invite people to open up about what they're seeing. Yeah. You can also contribute to my campaign. That's another thing. You can throw me money. I mean, I'm running. When I started this, I literally basically maxed out my credit cards. I sold all my Bitcoin. Like, basically just put everything I had into it.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know if the money was going to show up. I've been able to raise some, you know, enough to, like, you know, keep the thing going. And we're getting more support every day. A lot of small dollar donations, which has been a big piece of it. But, you know, I took this sort of leap of faith on it. And I'm really glad I did. Yeah. But, you know, you have to have that kind of skin in the game too. You have to actually be able to say, like, I want to do this. I believe in my ideas. I believe in the power of change. And, like, I'm willing to put, like, literally everything I've got into, like, completely liquidated the Bitcoin stash, sold the game stock. Like,
that was a crazy time. Yeah. And so what has been the overall, because I kind of want to engage the community a little bit. What has been the overall consensus? What have people been saying they want changed?
It's the crime. I mean, public safety by far is the most important issue in Northeast Philly. And it's different issues in different places. A big thing is carjackings and cars being broken into. Obviously, shoplifting is a huge concern in Northeast Philly. And it's like, this is where we're now we're starting to see violent crime, right? And this is where I talk about the sense of urgency that I don't see in the leadership class, frankly, and that I intend to bring to the table is that when you have these carjackings and these burglaries and the shoplifting, you're only a couple years away from like really serious, like much more serious crimes. And so it's like, we really need to do something very different very quickly to prevent things from getting worse.
So let me ask this, and I'm just asking questions because I just play music for a living. I'm a DJ. I have a podcast, but I'm just curious as to how do you realistically change that? Because I feel like, to me, like the common citizen thinks that, crime stems from the person and how they grew up. Like, how can you reverse that or at least help that situation?
Well, you can't just, like we talked about before, you can't just put Band-Aids on things. Now having more police in the streets, bringing back foot patrols too, having police officers walking around the neighborhood so they can get to know the neighbors and build the sense of trust, I think is important.
Got it.
Standing up to this DA, Larry Krasner, who has been just a disaster for the city. When kids get away with the shoplifting, right, there's this natural tendency in the human psyche to push boundaries. And so then they say, well, what else can I get away with? And so when there's no consequences for breaking the law, you embolden kids to basically become criminals. But those are the immediate things we need to do more to support our police, crack down on this DA, get him out of there. And by the way, if I get elected, I'm going to be the guy leading the charge to remove Krasner in the ballot box in 2025. I will be the guy stumping around the city, getting this guy out of there. If not sooner, by the impeachment process, by the way, we would need him out of there ASAP.
Yeah.
Because it's been horrible. Long term, I think that you need to have critical investments in education. Things like after school programs, summer programs, vocational training programs, basically things to keep kids in a constructive environment where they're learning new skills, where they're being connected with mentors, where they have good role models, they're learning the values of hard work. Like today, I was at Tacony Library and they had a community event.
Yeah, I saw you posted on your Instagram.
30 kids signed up for summer work permits. 30 kids. I saw this huge line. I thought there was a guy giving out autographs. Earlier, he's filling out the work permits. I couldn't believe it. And so that's amazing because you work this summer job, you're earning money, you're learning the values of hard work. You're opening up a bank account. Yeah. Right? Like all these things build you into a good citizen.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I have a question for you.
Go for it.
Everyone sees corruption and they see the Krasners of the world not giving a shit. What do they have to gain from doing that? Why doesn't everyone think like you? Why can't everyone think like you? And I know
if only.
Yeah, but it's a serious question though, because obviously not everyone is you. Not everyone is passionate and cares about the community like you do. But you got the Krasners of the world, and like, why are they letting people get away with crimes? Why are they emboldening people to commit crimes? Like, why can't they just do their fucking jobs? And that's a genuine question. Like, why don't they do their jobs?
2 reasons. It doesn't affect them, and they don't care. That's the bottom line. And I think you've kind of two kinds of failed leadership in Philly. You get the elitist, out of touch, center city, progressive types who are so lost in the sauce that they don't see the clear real world outcomes of their actions and their delusional, misguided policies. So that's the one bag of people who are failing the city. The second bag is these people who are part of essentially just like an establishment that's been there forever. I mean, the city's been run by one party for 72 years. Right. 72 years.
Democrats, yeah.
There hasn't been a serious challenge. Seriously. I mean, since Sam Katz, when we were small children. And there hasn't been a serious challenge in this seat in a long time. And they basically have built this culture where they almost seem like entitled to these seats, where it's like titles of nobility passed from father to son, from brother to brother. It's all that they're keeping in the family. It's like, it's literally, it's this sense that I'm just entitled to power and I don't really have to do anything because there's a D next to my name. And so these people, their problem isn't that they're like horrible people. It's that there's a sense of lethargy, that they don't have to work hard, that they don't have to actually do anything. They don't have to deliver.
They don't have to knock door to door.
Oh, of course not. Yeah. They just think that like, oh yeah, like I just get this, this is, and like, it's so corrosive to the city. Like that's what happens when one party runs things for 72 years, and that leads to a system where there's no accountability. There's no accountability. Nobody takes responsibility for anything. Like being a leader is about saying, okay, like maybe this wasn't my fault, but I'm the guy in charge and I'm taking responsibility for what's going on. And I'm going to do what I can to solve it. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to figure out what I can do. And like, there's a lot of excuses in this
Right.
this failure mode of leadership we have, where they say, well, Harrisburg won't do it, or City Hall. They're just blaming other people. It's this endless blame game, and nobody wants to say, okay, the buck stops here. And if you can't get it done in Harrisburg, okay, fine. You know, you can't pass a single bill, get a bill signed into law. Look, Harrisburg, and maybe it's tricky. But what you do is you bring together community leaders, right? Business leaders, civic leaders, church leaders, and say, okay, Harrisburg's not going to fix this. City Hall's not going to fix this. We're going to fix it. We're going to fix it. That's leadership.
Yeah.
And I don't see any of that right now.
Yeah, the morale's low.
Right.
And that makes a lot of sense. And like I said, I've always wondered that. I genuinely, like, why, like, corruption? I know, I understand it's about money.
Well, yeah.
But I'm just curious. I'm like, why? Like, why do they want to see the world burn? Why do people want to see the world burn? And like I said, it's just been a question that's been in my mind. It stresses me out, and it carries throughout the entire, like, whether it's Northeast Philadelphia or the whole country. It's that I think right now our country's in a really critical moment of just, like, it's make or break. It really is, because it's like the morale is so low. You know, we really have to care about our sports teams, to be quite honest with you. Like,
it's no accident. I mean, do you think these people want us to be excited and energized? Do you think they want us to believe that change is possible? Do you think they want us to believe that things can get better? Or do you think that they want us to be demoralized? To think, oh, well, there's nothing I can do. My vote's not going to matter. It doesn't matter. It benefits them, that apathy. They thrive off of it. When you inject dynamism into the system, a bold vision for the future, optimism, a belief that our best days can be ahead if we actually pull together. Like, you see how we rally for our sports teams.
Yeah.
You see how the neighborhoods come together. It's not like we can't do this. We do it all the time.
yeah.
We just need to rally around and bring that same energy and passion for our home to actually investing in our community.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, fuck yeah. Do you have like a slogan or something you live by that helps get you through the day and keeps your morale up, keeps you positive, keeps you talking to people? Because I can imagine not every day is easy.
No.
You know.
No.
and what do you tell yourself to keep yourself going?
Well, the stakes are just so high. You know, like, when I talk to people, like, even when I'm a little down in the dumps, I just go knock doors. Honestly,
that helps you.
I just go knock doors and I talk to people, and it really motivates me because it makes me realize, oh my God, like, I need to do this. I just need to do this.
Yeah.
That really keeps me going, and hearing people, listening to them. Another thing, honestly, is my faith. I mean, I'm Catholic. Just praying, going to church, praying the rosary. I've been trying. I don't do it every day. I like to do it every day, but probably don't. But the practice I've been doing is I try to pray the rosary in the morning. And each Hail Mary, I just think of a face, like, just like whoever pops into my head. And a lot of times it's people I met knocking doors, it's people I met on the streets. I talk to everyone I meet on the street. Sometimes it's even like my political, like, kind of adversaries, right? Because whoever pops in my head, and I pray for them, and that, I think, helps me keep me grounded.
Yeah. Does that? So I'm curious. Does that? Does praying the rosary and saying your Hail Marys, does that keep perspective in? Because you said you picture a face, you picture a person. Does that create empathy for you? Is that what the benefits of that has been?
It's empathy and realness. You know, like, you can think about these ideals and ideas, but when you actually put a person's face to it, when you actually, you think of a person, you think of a story, and you don't always remember people's names, but you remember their faces and things they said that stuck with you. It definitely makes the prayers more impactful, and definitely kind of centers me and reminds me of why I'm doing it. I think it teaches you a level of compassion too. I think what we're lacking is sort of empathetic leadership, and the people who can really listen, people who understand. Yeah,
there's no empathy in leadership in this country, in my opinion. From what I've seen, it's definitely lacking. And that's a really good point, and I think that's something that a lot of people can carry. It's like creating that movement of empathy for people. It's not being a bitch. It's not being any of this. It's like, I'm like, even myself, I got stuff I need to practice as well. This empathy, because you always have to think someone's always going through something. It's so easy to just be an asshole and make a comment or anything like that. And I've been guilty of that. But, like, sitting here talking to you kind of helps put it in perspective, because you have to remember, like, everyone out here has a goal. Everyone's trying something. Everyone's doing something. And it's like, if this world had a little bit more empathy for each other, I feel like you would see a lot more results. And because when you motivate people, you inspire, you empower people
Right.
to do things, and
Right.
you'd be surprised to see like someone like yourself can empower a community to be like, you know what, dude, like I actually do have a voice, and that's like that's why I want to had you on this podcast, because like you can't stress it enough, like to have someone like yourself who genuinely cares and is doing it for the right reasons. It's like you have a real ability to empower people and a real chance to make change, and you know, it's something that the world needs. It's something this community needs, especially in Northeast Philadelphia, somewhere I grew up. It's like it has such a negative connotation to it, you know, now, especially with like everything going on. And dude, like I've even like driving in, I live in Fishtown, and like I was driving under the bridge, under 95 to get to my house, and there's like a whole setup of homeless people under the bridge, and it's like they have like a grill, they got a whole ass house down there. It's crazy, and it's like there has to be this empathy, I feel like, because you don't know where their situation is, but at the same time you have to have that little bit of empathy to say, listen, if I can help them in some way, give them some food. I have like anytime I have a drink, like there's times where I go to Wawa and I'm driving down, I'm at a light, and I see someone at the corner. Granted, I don't know what the reasons are. I'm not naive to the reasons. I've been in Kensington, I've done that, but so I'm like, you know, I'll just give them my Gatorade, I'll give them my water. I'm like, listen, you definitely need this more than I do. And I feel like if the world can pass a little bit of compassion down to each other and empathy, I think you'd really see results. And that's why I love what you're doing. I love the way you're going about it. And it's like I said, it reminds me of a Vivek Ramaswamy, like him going to schools and talking, even when you're debating people who would disagree with you. That's the whole point. The whole entire point is to, you know, have people who don't agree with you give their opinions. It's like I could translate it to my world where it's like taking requests, like as a DJ,
right.
like it's like taking requests as a DJ. You're like, you may not like what I'm playing right now, but I'll listen to your request because maybe that can help bring the night up. Maybe you know more than I do in the room, you know. So like I said, I don't know. I want your thoughts on that too. Like the emphasis on dialogue. You know, like what are your viewpoints on that? And do you see yourself as someone who encourages that, like the opposite viewpoints?
Well, dialogue is I think the key word there, right? Because you only have two sets of eyes, you know, one set of eyes, one set of ears, right? You can't see everything. I don't live in every single neighborhood in Northeast Philly, so I need to listen to people and understand what they're seeing in their neighborhood. There's a lot of things you just won't understand unless you live there. But what I don't think we have enough of is actually people who facilitate dialogue, right? People who bring the community together and say, hey, what's going on? What are the issues? And then come up with solutions. Yeah. And so much of statesmanship is being able to listen to people's problems, talk to a lot of people, synthesize what's going on, right? And then come up with answers. Now, you can't solve everything. You know, like you can't bring about utopia, but you can come up with real solutions to things. And that all has to start from listening. And so being somebody who facilitates dialogue. So one of my ideas, if I win, I want to have a monthly town hall, basically. And I'm going to put it in a different neighborhood every month. You know, essentially just kind of hopscotch around the Northeast. Right.
Yeah, spread it out.
Because we do have the civic meetings, but one of the challenges is that young people don't really know about them.
I don't know about them. I was literally going to be my next question. Yeah. And
so I think that if it's something that my office is organizing, we're going to make it a little bit more like, I won't say hip, but it's going to be like fun to go to. You know what I mean? And it's going to be a totally conversational thing. Yeah. I don't want it to be, because a lot of times the civic meetings only get packed when people are really upset. You know, and I think the goal of my town halls is going to be putting us in a position where we don't have to get to that point. Because so much of what we're seeing, I mean, the reason people get upset is because they feel like the projects get just forced on them and changes get forced on them. They're like, you never told us.
Right.
And that's something I never want to see happen, whether it's going on the municipal level or the state level. If I'm the guy in charge, essentially, if I'm the senator, I'm the person who's like the community leader, it doesn't matter what level of government something's happening on. I have a responsibility to keep you informed. I have a responsibility to elevate your voice. And I don't have all the answers, but a lot of the best ideas I've gotten and I'm running on now, that I'm campaigning on, are ideas I got from people just knocking on their doors and asking, what do you think? What do you want to see change? I'm like, that's a good idea. Like, let me write that down. You know, and so another thing I'm going to do, and this is going to update on the website pretty soon, we're going to have a submission page. And there's going to be two things for people to be able to submit. One is like policy ideas, like submit your ideas and we'll kind of review them. Two is this project we've been working on called Northeast Stories. And what it is just people who've been willing to kind of go on camera and talk about what they're seeing. Right. And what's changed, what they want to see change. It can be really anything. It could be like, this happened in my block last week and I didn't like it. But we'll have a portal for people to submit those. And if they're comfortable with it, we're going to kind of help elevate their voices. Because part of the problem with politics is that these politicians are like, look at me, it's me, I'm the guy, you know, pay attention to me. And my whole thing is we need to pay attention to Northeast Philadelphia. And so I think it's more powerful to use, to the extent I have a platform, to use that platform to elevate other people's voices, the voices of the people who I'll be representing. Because that, I think, is almost a more powerful message if I could take that to Harrisburg and show the people in Harrisburg what's really going on here in Northeast Philly.
Yeah, the real leaders are the ones who can empower those around them, you know. And I want to ask you this one final question, and think hard on this. Why should people vote for Joe Picozzi? Why should people vote for you this November?
Well, if you believe things can be better than they are, if you don't like the direction things have been headed in Northeast Philadelphia, if you want to see change for the better in the Northeast, if you want safe streets, if you want, like, on the campaign in my announcement, I talked about something called the Northeast Philadelphia Dream. I don't know if you read about that when you're looking into this.
Yeah.
What the Northeast Philly Dream is, it's just you can have a nice house, safe neighborhood. You don't have to worry about letting your kids play outside. They're going to be safe. They can go to a school if you choose. They get a good education. They learn good values. They learn how to read, write, get good job training skills. That they have good mentors, good teachers, people who care about them. They have enough money to take a couple trips down the shore each year, maybe buy a couple Eagles tickets, and that you know that your kids are going to do better than you did. They're going to have gainful employment, and that you can stay in the neighborhood. You can invest in the neighborhood. This isn't some crazy dream. This is the Northeast Philadelphia of my parents. It's the Northeast Philadelphia of my grandparents. It's the Northeast Philadelphia of our childhood.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing it slip away. Northeast Philly, you see the place you moved to when you made it in this world. It was we did something. We achieved something. Now we live in the Northeast. Now people I talked to so many people who said, I won't even be living here in November. I'm moving out. If you believe that things can be better, that things can be restored, take a chance on me. Give me a shot. I promise I will deliver results for Northeast Philadelphia. I will work my tail off to do it the same way I've done it already in the campaign. I will bring that energy and that dynamism to Harrisburg that I don't think we've seen in a long time in this city. Yeah. We need reform. We need change. And I hope that you just at least take a look at what I'm doing, follow along my campaign, listen to what we're saying, judge me based on my values, based on how I conduct myself, based on the actions in this campaign, and hear me out. Because I think that this message is what people have been craving for a long time and didn't know that anyone was going to offer them. I really do believe that.
Yeah. Well, Joe, you got my vote, brother. And like I said, I really appreciate you coming on and being open about this because, like I said, this is stuff that people care about. And whether or not they want to acknowledge it or not, you know, people give a shit. Like, and they do. And it takes someone like Joe Picozzi who can empower them. I think it's a great word to say is empower them. Empower them to submit something on your website. Empower them to vote. Empower them to get out of their house and see the changes that are being made in front of them because of the decisions they made. And, you know, the same way we get herd mentality about negative things, you get a herd mentality about positive things.
Exactly.
You know, because of someone like you who's knocking door to door. Yo, Joe knocked at your house last week? Oh, yeah, shit. Yeah, dude, did you see that the new park got built? And, you know, it's like people start seeing the momentum and then people ride that. They ride the momentum. It's like everyone, you know, everyone thinks the Eagles are good because of the moves they've been making. Everyone's going to think Joe Picozzi's getting shit done because of the moves he's been making, you know? So got so much admiration and respect for you, brother. And I'm glad you came on and we're able to talk about it.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. Where can they find you? Where can they support you? And where can they vote this November? So my website's www.votepicozzi.com. My Instagram handle is at Joseph Picozzi, Picozzi. Facebook, Vote Picozzi. You just send me a friend request, honestly, Joe Picozzi. Add him on Facebook. If you DM me, if you want to talk, I'll just DM me. I'll give you my cell phone number. I'm tempted just to say it on here, but I don't feel like I should. Nah. But just DM me and we'll talk. Other place you can find me, probably in your neighborhood soon enough. Knocking on your door. Exactly. But Joe, dude, thanks so much for coming on, brother. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me. This definitely helps me a lot, puts things in perspective because, like I said, we are in a very critical place in our lives right now as a country. And I'm glad that there's people out there like you who want to make a difference. So thanks for coming on, brother. Thank you for having me. Yeah, no worries. Well, hope you guys enjoy this episode of The Loft. I'm Kevin Nichols at Joe Picozzi. Peace, guys. Peace.